Welcome to this Zapier Made Simple overview video. Today in this video we're going to talk about a couple of overview items, what Zapier is and how to get a familiarity with the system itself. So first off, what is Zapier? How does it work? Well, Zapier is all based on APIs. So API, you may hear, is Application Program Interface. You don't necessarily need to know what that does. All you need to know is APIs allow different systems and software to speak to one another. And Zapier is really the glue that helps you piece these items together so that you can take information from one system and send it to another system and manipulate it along the way. Take certain bits of information from one system and not have to manually duplicate that information into a subsequent system. You can see API is literally in the middle of Zapier, so they've certainly taken that under consideration when they created the system. First off, let's talk about workflows, or what Zapier calls zaps. That is how you would create a zap or some automation here. So we're going to make a new zap. You can either click here or up at the upper right hand corner of your screen, you can make a new zap. The first step in your zap is always called a trigger. So this is some important language to understand with Zapier. Pretty simple. Triggers allow subsequent actions to happen. So they kick off a set of workflow tasks in order for you to have some leveraged automation. So in this example, I'm just going to create a trigger by using Gmail. So you can see it right here. I'm going to select a labeled email. So that means whenever I label something in my own Gmail with a certain label that we're going to select, then this workflow is going to kick off. Now, not all software allows you to select triggers, and not all software allows you to select actions or tasks within a workflow, but most of them will have certain actions within them that will allow for triggers, and almost all of them will allow certain subsequent actions. So in this case, I'm going to select the Gmail inbox that I want to take a look at, and then I've already set that up previously and connected that account, which it'll ask you to do for the first time. You'll have to provide your password and permissions in order to look at that. In this example, I'm going to look at the label called Events. So this, again, has been created in my Gmail. I created a label called Events, and then I tagged a few Gmail emails with that specific label. Now, you can skip this test. I wouldn't necessarily do that until you're a little more comfortable with how Zapier works, but in this example, I'm going to test and review. So that's going to pull up some specific emails with that label. So I have a specific email here that's got a bunch of information. Now I have an example to keep moving forward. The next item, so that now our trigger is all set up. The next thing I'm going to do is create an action or a task, and I might want to send this information to a Google Sheet. You can see many different actions within Google Sheets. You can create a worksheet, update rows, create spreadsheet rows, update columns, delete spreadsheet rows, etc. You can do a lot of different things within Google Sheets. It's a pretty robust integration. But for this, I'm just going to create a spreadsheet row, and I may want to track these Gmails for some reason. And I'm going to select, again, the account that I want to attach. You can attach or integrate many of your accounts, as many as you'd like. And I'm going to say I'm going to create a spreadsheet. You're going to move down all this information, select the specific. It's reading from the information that I have already set up here, and you can update specific spreadsheets, and then it will populate the row at the bottom, the first empty row. So now it's reading the column headers here. So again, this is just information that is on the Google Sheet. I might fill in information here And once you are done, you're going to turn this on. I'm not going to do that in this because we're just getting a basic overview. But in this example, the Gmail step is the trigger. The Google Sheet step is the action or task within there. Now, two things you need to know about triggers. There are two types of triggers. The first is instant, an instant trigger, and that means things are happening almost simultaneously. So as you receive the prescribed action within the trigger, the subsequent actions will kick off, or that workflow will kick off. Many, if not most, will be what are called polling triggers. So polling triggers are triggers that happen on a time basis. And the way you can understand how quickly those will happen is by going to the zapier.com/pricing. This is going to outline how quickly things happen. So on a free account, you're going to get 15-minute update time. So that means the workflow or the zap will happen within 15 minutes of that trigger action. Now, most of the time it's much less than that, but you can understand that it could take up to 15 minutes for that action to happen. Next, we have the starter package. Again, is 15 minutes. And then it gets much more reasonable in time when you go to the professional team or company. It goes down to 2 minutes, 1 minute, and 1 minute. So those are nearly instantaneous, not quite, but those are happening basically in real time. So that is the overview of Zapier. Again, we discussed what a workflow is, also called a zap, what triggers are, and what actions are. We'll go into much more detail on how to leverage Zapier in the subsequent videos.